Welcome, everyone, to Education Today. I'm your host, Scott Nunes. I have something a little different for you today. I'm going to be speaking with two great CEOs, Jim Harold with Identity Automation and Tyler Bosmeny with Clever, and they have some great news to share with you. So stay tuned in this episode. First up, we have Jim Harold. He began his career in the Enterprise Solutions Group with Accenture and has since led and grown business in analytics, insights, and identity solutions as a software executive at organizations such as Teradata, PeopleSoft, and Oracle. For the past decade, Jim has been at the center of helping clients leverage identity solutions to securely connect individuals in a privacy safe manner, something that's really important right now. A little bit about Tyler Bosmeny. He leads the company as CEO, and in recognition of Clever's impact on education, Tyler was named to Forbes 30 Under 30 in education alongside his co-founders Dan Carroll and Rafael Garcia. Both of you have accomplished so much. I want to start to find out a little bit more. Tyler, I find it impressive that you graduated from Harvard with your MA in statistics and BA in applied mathematics, and you were able to grow Clever, correct me if I'm wrong, from 4 schools to 1,000 in a summer.
That was our first summer. We had four
Wow.
schools. We'd all quit our jobs. We had an idea for this platform that could make EdTech easier in districts. My co-founder was a tech director in a school district. And so we were really intimately familiar with the problem. And that's right. We went from 4 schools using it at the beginning of the summer to 1,000 schools using it by the end of the summer. And that was what gave us enough conviction to quit our jobs and say, let's try and make this happen for all schools.
Can you tell us what you've heard from the districts that you're supporting, about what they're dealing with?
Scott, what challenges aren't districts dealing with in this year?
Right.
And, it's technology, yes, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But, it's also wellness. It's the health of district staff. It's keeping track of students. It's making sure the students are fed and healthy. It's thinking about how you deliver learning equitably. Or learning at all. It's opening and reopening timelines that keep changing, by the authorities. There's just so much that the districts have been dealing with. And I know I speak on behalf of everyone at Clever. We work with over 8,000 school districts today. And
Wow.
on every one of those, you can't leave a call with a school district without just so much empathy for what they're up against and what they've been dealing with, as part of this pandemic. These are pretty unprecedented times, but one thing that's been that has been quite nice is we've been able to play a role helping districts kind of rise to the occasion and really been able to get creative with a bunch of districts as they've been figuring out how to navigate this.
Yeah, I mean, the things I would agree with Tyler, Scott, when you start talking through that. It's amazing what these school districts have gone through in such a tight time frame. If you think about it, I mean,
Right.
everybody talks about the fact that e-commerce has developed, has moved ahead and accelerated 10 years. Well, they've got the benefit of revenues to come on the other side of that. The school districts really didn't get many bumps. If anything, in some cases, they were threatened with decreases in budgets. And you want to talk about heroes and folks that stepped up. Folks found ways to provide services. I mean, think about the fact that many cases, things like devices, processes, security, which is what we spend a lot of time on, they were faced with challenges that they couldn't possibly had ever thought about for the prior 10 years, all within a time frame that was really weeks or months. And their ability to come to partners like Clever, like Identity Automation, and have us step up and really change the way we thought and that we could support them is unprecedented, as we've talked about numerous times.
Right. These times are such a challenge. You talk in these unprecedented times, and the challenge is not having what you need and not having that financial backing in many cases, right? For some districts, they were talking about shrinking services at a time that we need to expand and talk about security. I don't have the stats on security, but I read an article recently where it said that schools are under increased attack during this period, and so using what you provide is such a great benefit. How have you worked with districts and communities to meet them where they're at and expand what's possible for them?
Yeah, well, I think again, it comes back to kind of taking a look at the challenges that they found themselves under, as COVID hit. First of all, think of things like one-to-one devices and bring your own device, BYOD. I mean, we're talking about scenarios here where there were plans to roll out strategies over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years that had to happen in weeks or months, that many of these school districts, many of these individuals in tech and C&I found a way to make happen for the students and the teachers. So, I mean, that in and of itself was something that they never could have anticipated. When you think about the processes, we work with hundreds of districts that serve tens of thousands of students. So the scale of this is unprecedented also. So it's not just, it's not just the timing of it, but you're talking also the scale of it. And when somebody goes, the bad folks out there, when all these districts started to go digital, really the fact of the matter is what they were faced with was now all of a sudden they become a target, right? So now they've got less time, they've got more people, they've got situations like BYOD and providing Chromebooks and one-to-one devices for the first time ever. And now they have to make sure that those are secure. They're done in a manner that they never even thought about. And you also have new roles. I mean, think of all the parents that had to now start to be able to help their children and help the students. They're logging on to systems. So all of this came down. I mean, the one analogy I heard was, if you go up on a hill and you have a snowstorm and you forget your tent, you can probably survive. If you're going up on Everest and you forget your tent, you're not going to survive. And somehow, despite the fact that this was an Everest of epic proportions for all these school districts, they found a way not only to survive, but as Tyler has mentioned, really thrive and set themselves up for a scenario where remote learning is something that we can now use to extend their capabilities. And we all think and know moving forward that we're going to be in a situation that's going to be much better once we resolve many of the issues to remote learning that we have today.
For pretty much every district, digital is a big part of the story right now, digital learning. And a fun milestone that we just passed at Clever is now over 50% of all students in the US are active on Clever. So
whoa, 50%?
Yeah, 50% are using the Clever portal, and that is a big step up from where we were a year ago, and it really just speaks to how much schools are turning to digital curriculum and digital technology tools in order to keep the learning flowing.
Scott, one of the things that we'd like to do is kind of throw down the gauntlet to vendors like ourselves and other vendors out there to really step up in this environment and think a little differently. These partnerships are hard, which is why you don't see them often and why this is so unique that we were able to get together with Clever and put our egos aside as companies and organizations, not that either one of us has one, but really challenge ourselves to say, how do we come together and make sure that we provide a solution that is out there and can drive value that nobody else is in the ecosystem, especially for K through 12. And it was exactly by looking at our strengths, obviously ours in being the identity management platform for K through 12 and for education, theirs in being the leading student portal on the planet, that we really said, let's take a look at how we combine those strengths and do something that nobody's really thought about before. So that's when we kind of got ourselves in a room, figuratively, and brought together the partnership of Clever, and identity automation.
Yeah, I have a follow up to that. How difficult and challenging was that given the current circumstances that couldn't meet in person? What was the difference between like a traditional meeting of the minds versus this digital and kind of unprecedented meeting of the minds?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because as Tyler has mentioned, this is something that many companies don't do well, play well with others, right? They're just not built to do it in a capitalist society. But as we look at meeting the needs and benefits of the school districts, we found a way to do it, and we found a way to do it much like the heroic efforts we've talked about that schools are doing already. We looked at different ways to connect and align our common interests. We did things that we'll talk about a little later relative to pricing and integration. We found ways to bring the companies together virtually that are easier to do across the table and in a conference room, but we figured out a way to get it done just as all the teachers, students, administrators out there are finding ways to get things done day in, day out. So, ultimately, if they find ways to climb the mountain, then we've got to find ways to do it together also.
Yeah, so you may recall, I don't know if you're a fan of Star Trek, but Spock is famously quoted as saying the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And that's exactly what you and Tyler have done with your two companies. And I am thrilled that that has taken place.
Yeah, and we are too, and we're super excited to be able to provide much of what we're going to talk to you about in the following few minutes to all the school districts out there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed what you said with that comparison, right? That visual of surviving the storm, right? And not only surviving but thriving, and how important it is right now when districts are accelerating their 5-10 year plans in a matter of weeks, months, days, maybe. I know locally, oh, I was clocking 80 hours plus the month of March, easy, and into the summer, and just trying to support our teachers. And I know many companies like yours and Clever uh, we're doing the same thing. Such a challenge, and we couldn't have done it without the help from companies. So you thank teachers, but also I want to extend that thanks to you, Jim, and to Tyler as well, because if you and your companies didn't step it up and meet us where we were at and start exploring and ideating what our real needs were, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. And security is so important. Student data privacy. Every time I look to add an app or something to our kind of software suite that we offer to teachers and students, it goes through this policy. And we have to make sure no matter the device, no matter where the student's accessing the material from, things are sound and safe and okay. Kind of shifting gears a little bit with the K-12 space, ripe for innovation. What kinds of things are you looking to do going forward? In the way of operability with technology, like what kind of futuristic ways have people not really thought of, and now you're making a reality?
Yeah, and I'm sure Tyler has a bunch of these. One of the ones you mentioned kind of twice in there that I do want to bring to bear. It's very unusual that two leading companies like Clever and IA would team up, put their egos aside, and really come together in order to drive value to the school districts. Sometimes there's so much overlap that's a challenge for them to do. So I really find this is something that's unique, that we've been able to come together. Look, school districts are challenged with how many resources they have to integrate solutions. It's always a challenge. It's always a problem. It's always costly. So our ability to come together and combine the best of the student portal, the overall portal that Clever brings to the table, and some of the strengths that we have in digital identity as a digital identity provider is really unique out there in the marketplace. So, if you talk about the future and some of the things that we're doing, I'd say that in and of itself is something that you just don't see companies really effectively do. And that's probably one of the things that we're most excited about.
Yeah, we have an adage or a saying in education, better together. So by working, collaborating together on the same thing, the outcome's going to be better. And it takes me back to my college days growing up. I had a company when I was 14 years old, a little web design company. And I remember really liking this business acronym, team. Together, everyone achieves more. So I tried to bring on a bunch of my fellow students onto my web design team and have them help me with projects that we were doing for teachers and potential clients. How are your two companies, Tyler and Jim, coming together to make things better for everyone, yourselves and the teacher communities that you serve?
Yeah. So this is, Jim, I agree with what you said. This is unusual and certainly new for us at Clever to have a partnership like this. But one of the things we realized, so people, I think for a lot of districts, Clever is a really important part of the stack in terms of how they roll out all of their digital curriculum. But one of the things we've heard from our districts is, hey, even if we're using Clever to set up all of the student accounts and all of these different, curriculum products, if the underlying identity, meaning Active Directory or Google, isn't also set up right, it almost doesn't matter. It's not going to work. And that magical friction that we're aspiring to just breaks down. And so I'm really excited about this new partnership we've announced with between IA and Clever, because I think it solves a really important need for districts who want the best of curriculum, provisioning, and setup, but they also need to know that those core identity systems are going to be set up perfectly with the best-in-class solution, and that's IA. And so I think this is great. I also think just my impression talking to districts this past year is people have no time for companies that don't want to work together. No capacity for yet another data silo or yet another program that won't integrate. And so we know that lots and lots of districts love IA. We know that lots and lots of districts use Clever. And so, Scott, I agree with you. This does feel like one of those better together moments where, well, by coming together, we can make that experience more integrated, more streamlined, more affordable, and hopefully reach a lot more districts who would benefit from from this IDM or Active Directory and Google management on top of their normal Clever experience.
Yeah, Jim, what can you add to that? I really liked how succinctly you put that, Tyler, with growing what's possible with this partnership and working together, not just to benefit you, but to benefit everybody.
Yeah, I think Tyler really said it extremely well. It's kind of a 1 + 1 = 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Identity automation is.
Apologies to all the math teachers out there watching.
Yeah, right. Actually, apologies to my all my calc teachers. Well said, Tyler. But yeah, I mean, really, what I see here is, we saw a situation where we had an opportunity to team up with, the leading portal provider for K-12 and many other businesses. And we're a little more in the background, right? So we're not quite as observable to the students and teachers, although we have a number of areas that we do work with them in that area. But ours was all about, when we talk about climbing that mountain of Everest and making it through the storm, ours is all, let's make sure we've got the foundation, we've got the pieces that connect in the background that enable a safe experience, particularly when you start to talk about them using across different applications, whether it's the learning management systems or the SISs, all of which, Tyler and the folks at Clever do a phenomenal job at. So for us, it's all about being really the digital identity platform provider and making sure that you have a safe, secure, really easy and efficient way that it then enables that front end experience that all the teachers and students love.
Right. I think it's really important from the user side to have a really nice user interface and to have everything accessible. It's quick, you know where it's at. All types of users can use it, all the way from K through 12 and beyond. Parents can use it, admin can use it. With some admin experience now this year, have because everybody's roles seem to have changed due to the pandemic, right? I have some of those responsibilities now too, and having the rostering side kind of taken care of and not having to worry about it. I equate it to the George Foreman grill. You kind of like set it and forget it, or whichever kitchen appliance that was. It's nice. I love that the back end stuff is taken care of. I know that everything is safe and secure, and somebody else is worrying about that. We don't have to bring on a whole nother team. We don't have to try and find those people. What you've done, Jim, is essentially brought the best of the best into the educational community and helped districts leverage that without us even really knowing that we needed it. Because you're right, you're on the back end a little bit more, you're not necessarily on the front end, but you are so crucial. And so it's this melding of two essential pieces, and I'm thrilled that these two companies are working together. And as we kind of close out, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask each of you about the partnership itself that you announced at its core of these issues we've been discussing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to it,
here.
Scott. I'm really quite excited about it. Thanks to this new partnership between Clever and IA, we have a new offering available to school districts. It's called Clever IDM Enterprise by Rapid ID. And what it is it uses the Clever data ingestion engine that districts know and use and love. And Rapid ID can now hook into that same Clever data feed and use that Clever data feed to provision a lot of the core systems that Clever doesn't touch today. I mentioned a few of them earlier, things like Active Directory, Office 365, G Suite. These are systems that can now be provisioned with Clever data thanks to this partnership with Identity Automation and their product Rapid ID. And there's a few aspects of this that are really exciting. One is that now you can have one way of doing everything. You don't need to have lots of different products all connecting to your SIS. Clever can really be that go-to. The second thing is this is going to be a paid offering because it's outside of what we normally do at Clever. But we are, as part of the partnership with IA, and one thing that I'm particularly proud of, our ethos at Clever is we really like helping save districts money. And so this IDM solution that we are bringing to market is going to be priced at less than half of the normal market rate for a solution like this. And as a district, you're getting, in my opinion, the best of the best with IA. They've been doing this forever. They work with some of the biggest districts in the country. Like, their solution is proven and tested in a way that nothing else I've seen before is. And we already work together in lots of districts, like Chicago, like Broward, and others, side by side. So we know this will be a good partnership because we've gotten to know each other before this. But I'm just really excited that we will be able to deliver this integrated offering for districts this year.
That's so cool. I love when programs and companies play nice. It helps the user. And even better is when you have a one-stop shop for tools.
Yes.
I love that, because when you're learning so many new things, like some districts, including my own, we were one-to-one, but then we added some additional one-to-one devices. In fact, we doubled our devices, and we had to roll this out in a matter of weeks. And so we decided to keep it simple, and that's what you're doing, and you're making it cost effective, which on the user side I appreciate, because I'll be honest, I want this for my district, and I know many people listening in are thinking and saying the same thing to themselves. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think that's we talk about the value of the integration, Scott. But right here, what we're talking about is you get secure digital learning, you get world-class identity management in combination with that. You get the opportunity to do that in days as opposed to weeks or months, because we do the integration together as opposed to dumping that on the school districts. And as Tyler mentioned, you get it at below half the price that you'd have the solutions combined on. So that's where, when we start talking about a win for everybody and what we can do to start coming together for the districts, for the administrators, for the teachers, for the curriculum instruction, it's a tremendous value proposition that we're really excited to come to the table with.
No, I agree. I think it's a win-win. And to borrow a little bit from Michael Scott from The Office, not sure if you gentlemen are familiar, he says the ideal situation is a win-win-win. And so the companies are winning, the districts are winning, IT's winning, and teachers and students are winning. So I'm up in Michael Scott. It's like a win-win-win-win situation here. If people want to find out more about each of your companies and this new service, where should they go? How are they going to find out more, and how can they get going right away with this?
Yeah, we'd love to get you the information you want. You may have noticed we had an announcement about a week ago. We've had blog posts, and if you want to just get started right away and you're a Clever district administrator, you can go straight inside of Clever to the Clever App Store and look for Clever IDM, and it'll be there, and there'll be a way to request more information, and we'll connect you with the Rapid ID team as well, so you can make sure you have the latest information on how it would work with your systems.
Yeah, so certainly for folks who are already Clever clients, that's a quick and easy one. Obviously, clever.com overall they'll be broadcasting this, as well as identityautomation.com. We will be singing from the rooftops about what we think we can bring to the districts about this partnership.
That's great, and I appreciate both of you sharing such a wealth of information, jam-packed into this session today. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity to be able to just learn more alongside the audience and to share in their joy with this offering between Identity Automation and Clever. I'm really thankful. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
But it was a lot of fun, and look forward to doing the next one.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Scott. That was great. Thank you, Jim.
See you guys. Thanks, Tyler. Take care.
Likewise. Thank you.